Welcome to Killer Women with your host, best-selling author Danielle Girard. And now, Danielle's next killer woman.
Hello, and welcome to Killer Women Podcast, a proud member of the Authors on the Air global network with more than 4 million listeners. I am your host, suspense author Danielle Girard, and my guest today is Cara Reinard. Cara is a screenwriter and Amazon bestselling author of domestic thrillers, including Sweetwater, which hit #1 on the Amazon bestseller chart for domestic suspense. Cara has an MFA in writing from Lindenwood University and resides in the Pittsburgh area with her family and 2 Bernese mountain dogs. For more information, visit her website at carareinard.com. And Cara Reinard is Reinard and Cara with a C. Welcome, Cara.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
We're talking about the clinic today, and which is coming out from Bookouture this month. Can you show us the cover? Because I read it on my Kindle, but it's a beautiful cover. I love what they did.
Sure. I'm going to just show you my screen of my iPad, which I think is the best way to do it for now.
I love that. And read us the subline on that. It says,
so it's the clinic. One doctor, one patient, one terrible lie.
It's super good. So tell our listeners about the clinic.
So the clinic is about an embryologist, Emily, and she works in a IVF clinic. And so she is responsible for arranging the samples for couples who are trying to get pregnant using in vitro fertilization. And she's had kind of a rough road. She's a cancer survivor. She actually had to freeze her own embryos in order to have a chance of having a baby later on in life. Before that, she had a relationship with a man named Ben who she decided to break up with so she could further her career and study abroad. And, by the time she came back, he was with somebody else. And she's posed with a major emotional challenge when he shows up in her clinic with his new wife in tow, and they would like to use her services.
It's actually there's also so many great layers with like Emily, Emily and her boss who doesn't want, which, you understand this, success rates are very important in these types of businesses. So her boss is very sort of decisive about who she will and will not see based on the probability that the couple will end up pregnant. And so therefore it'll look like a successful IVF procedure for them. So there's so many interesting layers. Now I'm curious because I think, obviously IVF is everywhere. Couples in the last 50 years wait longer to have children. Women pursue careers longer, and so these fertilization methods and pregnancies are much more common. So what made you gravitate towards this plot?
So I have a science background. I've spent 20 years in the pharmaceutical industry, so that's my backstory personally. And so I'm a science nerd. Like, I love to read articles about breakthrough science. And I think what made me gravitate to this one is that I read an article about all the different things they do in the lab that question, ethical policies like gender selection. And I was like, oh, what if you were in charge of that and a person, had all the authority and, what could go awry in that setting? And so I thought it was sort of an untapped market for thrillers, right? There hasn't been one set in this arena, and I thought it would set up a nice novel, a nice female-based novel.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Right. And it lends itself so naturally to the, high stakes because of course, this is having children is, arguably one of the most emotional things that we do as humans. Right. And the way that women are perceived if they can't have them, or if, or how they feel about themselves if they can't have them, it's all, it's really rife with emotion. So I think you're right. It's a great place to set a book. So tell me, this is like your 7th, 8th, where are you in the book?
This is my 7th
book.
novel.
Okay. And these last few have come out really quickly. So what's your process like, for starting a book? Where do ideas come from? Are you somebody who has a whole like bucket of ideas, or do they come one at a time?
Yeah, so each book has been completely different. This one was actually a rewrite. This started as a women's fiction novel, and it was a book that I had an agent sign me for now 11 years ago, which is kind of crazy. And I think it was too quiet of a novel as a women's fiction novel. It didn't have any of the thriller element to it. It was just about two women who wanted a baby. And that book didn't end up selling in the women's fiction market. And then, as you know, I had to move on to another agent after that happened, and the new agent wasn't interested in this book. So I sat on my computer. My new agent signed me for a thriller. She's like, I don't do women's fiction, and then you're kind of stuck because if no one's willing to sell it, so I just kind of sat on it.
Right.
And then when I got sort of this opportunity to get a new book deal and they wanted more than one book, I was like, hey, what if, because I always loved this book. I always loved the idea of, this setting. And I said, hey, what if we make this a thriller and I make it from both women's points of view? Because in the original, I just had one. So this was
Mm-hmm.
a complete and total rewrite for me. I had a lot of the same research there. The characters were there, but I just rewrote the whole thing and I made it from two points of view. And so that's where the idea for this one came from. And each book has been a little bit different. Like there's not like one size fits all kind of mentality for where the ideas come from. So
Yeah. And so do you have an idea? The way these things work, of course, is you're probably already sort of thinking about the next novel. I know that's so do you have an idea already that you're kind of
so the
working
next
on?
one, well, the next one comes out in February already. And so it's already ready to go. Like it's slated. I think I have copy edits left on
Okay.
that book. So by that stage, the whole book is fully formed. And I don't know, do you want me to tell you kind of like what that one is about?
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about that one.
That one is really dark. So I say it gives me like Ozark vibes, kind of dark, but it's about a wife and a husband, and it's told from a husband and wife's point of view, which I haven't had a book like that in a long while. It's from alternating points of view. And the husband leaves on a business trip and he's in a foreign country, and he wakes up in a bath of ice and he's missing an organ.
Oh, wow.
And so
That is dark.
yeah, it tackles the dark organ harvesting kind of underground market, and then it taps into the idea 10% of the world's transplants are illegal transplants. I don't know if you knew that, but
No.
because of a supply and demand issue. And so he comes home, but he can't tell his wife what happened because he was lured by a female, right? So
Uh,
he doesn't want her to know the circumstances surrounding what happened. And so I don't want to give away more of the plot,
right,
but
right, right.
it doesn't end there. We'll just say like the terror doesn't end there. They kind of come back after him for something else, and then it
I
all comes
love
out.
that. I love that. Well, that is, yeah, talk about a high stakes situation. That is fascinating. Well, it sounds like actually kind of science is your thing. And I don't remember that from Sweetwater. That was the book the first of yours that I read. But it's interesting. So do you find yourself, you're obviously like me, kind of a worst case scenario thinker, right? Like
Yeah.
it's
Throw
like
your characters into the fire and see how they react.
exactly what can possibly go wrong here. So when you're obviously, these books are coming out really fast too. So I know you have children, so how do you sort of structure your life so that you can get the work done, and still I'm sure run your household and family and all that.
Right. Yeah, I have two dogs and a husband I see occasionally as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm a 5 a.m. wake up and write girl when I'm on deadline. When I'm on deadline, I get up early before anybody can get up, before the dogs can like even get up and bother me. I actually have a office connected to my closet, which sounds
Oh,
bizarre, but it's like
sounds
a walk-in closet slash office that was built during the pandemic. And it has a coffee maker in there, like it's a room, full room,
yeah,
but I can crawl in there before anybody can bother me, put the
yeah.
coffee on and get to work. and, get a lot done. When I'm not on deadline, I kind of write just whenever, but I would say
Right.
I get the most done in the early hours, because I always say nobody owns you at 5 a.m., right? Like,
Ugh.
that is your
Nobody
time.
owns me but sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people do that. I think it's really productive. So when does everybody else get up? 7? I mean, you have
So my son has to get up for 6 for the bus, but he doesn't really need me. Like, sometimes if he doesn't get up, I'll have to like
yeah,
get him out of bed, and
right.
occasionally like I'll come down, and if I know he has a test or something, and get him out the door. And then my daughter doesn't get up until like 7.
Yeah. So
So
it
if
gives you
I
some
want, I
really,
can,
yeah,
yeah,
quality time. And are you
yeah.
somebody who's like, I mean, you have that time, I know people do this all sorts of different ways in terms of like hitting writing goals. Are you trying to do a certain word count? Are you, do you write every day? I think it's the sort of the process and the method for it is always interesting to people.
So when I'm on deadline, I'm like a crazy person. Like, I get
Yeah.
up and I go, right? But right now I'm not on deadline. Like, I have all my deadlines fulfilled, and I'm not writing at all
Yeah.
because I'm taking a little break,
Yeah.
So
Which
I
is
don't know if that's,
necessary.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know
Right.
if that's different than most people, but I'm like it's like a whole different animal when I have to have something done by a certain date. I don't like worry about word count. I worry about dates. Like, I need it in by this date, and I get it done by that date, you
Yeah.
know, whatever
Yeah.
needs to happen. Also, my kids are in a lot of activities and sports. And I think people don't think about like that time. Like, I spend so much time in parking lots, and I'll knock out a chapter while I'm like waiting for, my daughter's like up teeth lacrosse practice,
Hmm.
like, and everyone else is just scrolling on their phone.
Yeah. Yeah,
Those are like,
it takes that sort of discipline, right? To be like, this is where I am, this is what I have to get done, and to kind of like figure out how to do it.
mhm,
But it is,
yeah.
I mean, I think you can do a lot of things. Now, when you do take a break, do you tend to read more, or do you just sort of escape from the whole world of books for a little bit?
Like, I just got back from traveling, and usually I will read on the plane, and I will take that time to read, but I just completely detached and like watched movies. And actually, I had my screenplay to go app on my iPad, and I played with some screenplays because I'm also a screenwriter. So
Yeah.
I usually read, but I didn't on this last trip. I think my brain just needed to.
Yeah, for sure. Tell us about the screenwriting. That's really interesting.
Yeah, so I'm repped by a manager in LA, and I don't have anything produced yet, but he sends my stuff out all the time. I've adapted my own stuff. I've written, stuff on spec. I have a producer attached to something that I wrote, just, aside from the books. I also have an actor interested in playing the lead, but again, nothing has moved forward. I think it's so tough to get anything into production, but it's also nice to
Yeah.
have interest.
Yeah. Yeah, and how is it different to write a screenplay? I mean, it's obviously a much more concise format, but yeah, I mean, is there one that you prefer? Is it fun to kind of go back and forth?
So screenwriting software is just amazing. Like, if you're going to write a screenplay, the software basically self teaches you. I use Final Draft is the one that I use, but it just puts it into characters, dialogue, action line. It'll tell you, kind of prompt you along. It's 3-act structure. I learned in school, what should happen in each act and when, and things should happen by the midpoint. It shouldn't be any longer than 120 pages because it's a minute a
Right.
page. So it's just kind of following along that kind of structure, 3-act structure.
And did you study screenwriting like in undergrad, or did you go back to school?
So I didn't study it until my MFA program,
Okay.
which I just recently completed in
Congratulations.
2022.
Yeah.
Actually, did that during the pandemic too. I think everybody was kind of like, "Oh, what am I going to do with myself?" I was like, the only thing I could really do remotely is write.
Yeah.
So I kind of
Right.
invested in that a little bit more, you know?
Yeah, I love that idea. No, I think it's a really, I mean, I think the idea of screenwriting is super interesting, especially if you can, as you said, like adapt your own stuff. And it sounds like, I mean, really sounds like you're super, super busy, Kara. I feel like I'm like, oh my God, I would need a nap. But that's,
Well, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, like that. I had a 3-book deal. This was my second one in that deal. And then the third one, I'm at the very end of the editing. It's
yeah,
like I'm like finally like, woof. I
Yeah.
don't have any pending deadlines. So it's kind of
Yeah.
nice. Take a
And do you
break for the
know,
holidays too.
yeah, exactly. Do you know what you'll do next? Like what you'll,
So I signed with a new agent in February for a book, and it hasn't sold yet. And we're about to go on the second round
mhm.
on sub. So I'm hoping, depending on what happens with that, I'm hoping that sells, and I'll have
Yeah.
a better idea.
And then so you have that full manuscript already.
Yeah, I
That's
had to
really,
in order to
yeah.
sub, and that actually was my MFA thesis. So I had to write it to complete my program.
Yeah.
And it had to be different. If you were going to use fiction, it had to be different than what you'd already published. So it's kind of a
Mm.
different genre for me. Not like
Yeah.
it's adjacent. It's kind of
Yeah.
like more of a mystery, cozy mystery.
Interesting.
Think Finley Donovan is killing it type.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Finley Donovan is so fun. I love those humorous mysteries. It's really nice. Well, that's amazing. So do you know the title of the February book yet?
Well, right now, because it's on sub, they always change them. My last three books, they changed every single title I turned in.
Yeah.
But as for now, it's just Add Flames,
I
and it's
like
set
it.
in the world of the kitchen industry or the restaurant industry. So yeah.
That's amazing. That sounds so amazing. Well, um, you've got just a lot going on. Tell our listeners sort of where to find you, so they can follow up what you're doing, website, your favorite social media, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so my website is just my name. It's www.carareinard.com. And then all of my social media, it's the same, just at my name, Cara Reinard. It's really easy. Twitter,
That is.
Instagram.
That's
That's
fantastic.
yeah, that's the easiest way to find me.
Well, super exciting. Of all your books, do you have a favorite, or we're not supposed to choose them because there are children, but
Yeah. Well, Sweetwater was my breakout novel. That was what put me on the map. So I always kind of divert to that one. Also, it's the one everybody says that they like the most. And I know it was my first one. It's kind of hard to, get over that hurdle of the first one. But
yeah.
I guess that would be it because it kind of broke me out into
Yeah, I love that. Well, there is something, right, that, and nothing is as exciting in the world as that debut process, right? When you're brand
Mhm.
new and there's all this excitement around career, and then you get into the nitty gritty of the career, and it's like it's
Yeah,
not the
right.
the glamour isn't quite as much there. So
Mhm.
that's super exciting. Well, and the clinic comes out. Remind me which day.
November 8th.
November 8th. Okay. So everybody,
Yeah,
the book is already out when you're listening to this. Cara, will you show us that gorgeous cover one more time so we
sure.
can look at it?
I apologize. I don't have my ARCs. I came back from vacation yesterday, and I asked them not
Yeah.
to send the books to hold them because I was
Yeah.
afraid it would end up on my porch.
Yeah, exactly. But that is a gorgeous one doctor, one patient, one terrible lie. The clinic. Cara, it was so fun to talk to you today. I'm super excited. I loved the clinic. I look forward to the next one. And also good luck with all the submission. I know that process. Kara's submission means when you send your book out, your agent sends your book out to a bunch of publishers and you cross your fingers and don't sleep
Yeah,
until you hear back. And that is a process we all go through, but it's not always that fun. So good luck.
exactly. Thank you so much.
Everybody, this was Killer Women with Cara Reinard. I'm Danielle Girard, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Thanks.